Thank you for joining Folk and Palate Live. Today I'm joined by Cliff Hunt, and this fella has so much going on. After we spoke a couple times, we realized we have things in common. HBCU grad. I'm Howard, you're Morehouse, so it's always love right there. But I'm just really happy to have you here. So again, everyone, welcome today. Cliff Hunt, he's going to talk about so many things that have gone on in his life. One of the latest things, if you haven't heard, that he's self-published now. He just released Hungry and Homesick, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So we're going to dive right into it. So you doing good, Cliff?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I got some water too. I haven't had enough water today, so I'll be drinking that.
You know what? As soon as the weather changed, all of a sudden I felt like I never was hydrated enough, didn't have enough water, skin feels dry, turned on the heat, now everything just feels dry.
I mean, your skin is the first thing that's gonna tell you like
Mhm.
you need some
Right.
water. So yeah, it I can always tell when I haven't had enough.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you. So let's go ahead and get started. And everybody, Cliff is cooking for us today too. So we're going to be doing stuff in the kitchen too. While we're sitting here chatting away, we're going to be just cooking some good food as well. So,
Pretty much. I mean, I'm just so I kind of told you earlier, I'm cooking a meal like I would on a regular night.
right.
It's not a real recipe. I mean, I could do a recipe
Uh-huh.
type up later, but it's just me cooking. So I got some chicken thighs that I marinated with like miso because I like the flavor in miso, you know, that umami salty thing.
Hmm.
Added some garlic and some smoked paprika. I love using that. It's used a lot in my cookbook actually.
Hmm.
And we're gonna bake that. I already cooked off some ripe yellow plantain and Yukon Gold
Hmm.
potatoes. So that's also in my cookbook. It's under another dish.
Yeah.
It's a dish that I kind of found by accident, to say the least. And then we're just gonna do a quick salad and show people how to make a quick little salad dressing while we chat about everything.
Sounds good to me. So while we get started, let's talk about the south side of Chicago, where you're from, where your family. I see it. I see you rocking the sweatshirt.
All day, my family, my close friends, everyone's still back home in the Shy for the most part,
Mhm.
and I that's how homesick came about because I haven't been home. I usually go home about once a year,
Right.
but now it's who knows when I'm gonna go back
I
home,
know.
just because of the times we're in now, of course. So yeah.
So what was it like growing up? Like tell me about, just growing up in Chicago and your family and just a day in the life.
Um, by the way, I sometimes may slip a swear word by accident, so excuse my language because it just that's who I am.
It's
But it's
okay.
it's hella cold, first of all. I always think about snow days or lack thereof because we didn't have those growing up. There was no such thing as a snow
Oh
day.
my.
Kids have it now, but back then we were like, no, you're going to school. It was great. I mean, you know, Chicago, like living here in New York almost 8 years, it's very similar to Chicago, you know, the big buildings, lots of food, loud people, uh, sometimes the cold weather, but Chicago's a great place. Culturally, it has a very distinct history,
Mhm.
especially the Black history. Again, I grew up on the South Side, Southeast actually. Like it's you could say South Side in general, but then there's very specific
Parts of
pockets.
it. Oh,
So yeah, so I grew up closer to like the lakefront. So it's like 20 minutes from my house via like drive or bike
mhm.
if you really want to. And I grew up in like honestly a very black middle class. It was called Peel Hill. And I was there with my mom and my dad. I'm the only child, so it was just me. I'm a lonely only.
All right.
I actually went to private school most of my life. So I went to Catholic school, not even 3 blocks away
I
from
did
where I
too.
was living. Oh, you did?
I did for
Yeah, I
high
wore
school.
those.
For high school, I did.
Did you have to wear the plaid skirts and
I had
things?
to wear
Those
the plaid skirts, and we had the socks going up to our calves, and we used to roll the skirts up so they look kind of short.
Yeah. I swear I feel like I've been in uniform all my life because I had uniform in well we call it grammar school. So like grammar school and then I went to a parochial high school
Mhm.
and that's where I had to have uniform. And then even though I went to a private college, we didn't have uniform, but there was still some type of dress code. You know how HBCUs want you to look presentable in some of your
Right.
classes. And then I go to culinary school and what do I have to wear? A
Uniform.
uniform. So
You've been prepped your
I,
whole
it's
life.
between that and like my dad was a Marine, so even though he wasn't in it forever, like he also was always about uniforms, dressing neat. Both of my parents were always about style, being neat. Like my mother used to crease the heck out of my pants. So like that was kind of like a bit of my time growing up was just like being neat, clean. I'm not as much anymore, but I was raised that way.
I get it. So tell me about your parents. Were they born and raised in Chicago also? Did they migrate up from the South or what?
So they're born and raised, but they were like first generation. So on my dad's side, now my dad comes from a big family. He's one of 10, and I'm named after my father. But my dad is literally like one of 10, and he was raised in this area called Chatham. And then my mom, funny enough, is like this like love story thing because my mom's from the other side of town. She's from the west
Uh-huh.
side, and she's the one. Both of my parents are the eldest. My dad was the oldest boy and the third oldest child. My mother was the oldest, period,
Mhm.
of four children altogether. But she was born on the west side. But my dad's parents, I don't really know a lot about my paternal grandfather because he died like in the 70s.
Mhm.
But I know my grandmother was born in Alabama,
Okay.
and then she migrated up.
Got
And then on my mom's side, both my gramps and my granny,
it.
who I talk a lot about in my book, they are from Mississippi. Starkville and Yazoo, like the Delta, but like any Midwest, like we all have that great migration. So you hear my Southern drawl and twang, it's just because like
Mhm.
it's very deep. Like my granny had the gold tooth, did a lot of like Southern deep South things that people in Chicago sometimes understand and sometimes don't. So that's kind of like what the background is. But my parents are born and raised.
Oh, and I was asking because I figured that would have I'm sure that had some influence on what your grandparents or what your parents cooked in the house and what you ate when you grew up, just that
Yeah,
influence.
it definitely did. But the thing about it, so like